American teenagers, they have had to process the pandemic, January 6th, and now this war in Europe. How they are dealing with the conflict overseas when the 11th hour continues. We have tried to bring different perspectives on the war in Ukraine over the last 2 weeks, but after listening to my own kitchen table, we realized we have not been paying enough attention to a group who are following the conflict closely, American teenagers. So I sat down with 4 students, debate team members at Hoboken High School in New Jersey to see what they thought. And my first question, because I always want to know where people get their news from, is how exactly they're learning about this war and where they're getting their information.
I see a lot of it on social media. People are constantly reposting it on stuff like Instagram and platforms like that. And I think that's where most of my knowledge of this comes from.
I do get probably most of my information from TikTok. And I know that most of it's not always reliable. So most of the time I do try to watch the news and use other sources to corroborate it and make sure that what I'm learning is really the true information.
Does it feel like it's affecting us or impacting your life, or is it more something that's of interest to you because you care about global politics?
We don't see the direct repercussions exactly, especially as teenagers in America and New Jersey more specifically, but definitely when you're scrolling through TikTok and you see these firsthand accounts of these kids just our age who are dealing with this, I mean, we're all complaining about our tests next week, and they're wondering, then they're hiding in a bomb shelter.
Mabel, do you feel like what's happening in Ukraine has any impact on your life?
On my life, in the immediate now, it doesn't really affect me. I, of course, am nervous about what's happening in Ukraine for the people, the families that are being torn apart, and also just if this is going to escalate into something larger.
Do you want the U.S. military to get involved when you look at these videos?
I wish that we could help and use the power that we have to help people. But at the same time, I understand that would only make it worse for everyone. I mean, if the U.S. gets involved, then probably many European countries would follow. And not only are we in some danger and the rest of Europe is in danger, but the war in Ukraine escalates and everybody there is in more danger.
Does this make you feel scared?
I feel scared for other people. I feel scared for what could happen to the world. I don't feel scared for my own safety.
Do you have an opinion of Vladimir Putin?
I think this is more of a him versus Ukraine. I don't think this is a Russia versus Ukraine, which is one way to kind of view him.
I feel like we shouldn't be blaming Russia as a whole, because this is Putin, it's all what he's doing. There's a lot of people in Russia that are protesting peacefully and trying to speak up about this, because a lot of this is being caused by Putin's control and how he's taking control of the media and the government, all of that.
We have the benefit of living in a democracy. Watching an authoritarian leader rise like that with so much power, does it scare you, even if it's on the other side of the world?
It's definitely scary seeing somebody, especially in a country so powerful, taking so much control.
I guess that what we're thinking is could that happen here in a sense? Eventually, could it escalate to a point where people here are inspired by actions that are happening in these other nations, and it leads to something more in our own nation?
People are going to be angry pretty soon about gas prices, right? The economic sanctions we have placed on Russia are going to result in worsening inflation, gas costing more. Do you think that's okay?
I feel people do have a right to feel a little upset, but at the same time, I think it's also good to take into consideration how this is impacting the rest of the world, because to my knowledge, this increase in prices is a result of taking away from using Russian oil, which is then cornering Russia and making them not as strong and stuff.
The thing is that we need to remember we are, in a sense, saving the world. And I don't want to say that in a propaganda-ish way. I mean, we're deterring Russia from what they're doing and basically telling them it's wrong with the means we can without starting a World War III.
Are you angry at all? In your teen years, you have experienced January 6th, a pandemic, and now a war breaking out in Europe.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we're angry, but we're upset. I can't
Daniel's
speak for all of us. Daniel might be angry, but I am definitely upset. I'm not angry at anybody specifically, maybe Russia, but...
Does it ever feel like it's too much?
It's definitely a lot. I don't think it's anything easy to go through in any sense, but I think it's important for all of us to care a lot about it and want to learn more, and I think that's the most important thing out of all of this.
It is good to worry sometimes because it shows that you are staying active in these issues and you are staying educated for your own sake so that you know what's happening in the world. I feel that if you are worried, it shows that you care, which is something that we all need to have.
It was an extraordinary group of teenagers, but I just kept thinking how much they have to process. I said it there. Over the last 2 years, they started their high school careers, experiencing COVID, processing January 6th, and now dealing with a war taking place overseas. One of those students, his grandmother was supposed to return to Poland this week, and they kept her here because it's just not safe. These young kids have to face so much.